I got fined $1,000 for swimming in my own lake. Yeah, you heard that right, my lake, the one my family has owned since 1923. At first, I thought the HOA president had finally lost her mind. But then I discovered she wasn't just greedy. She was desperate, drowning in debt, and dangerous enough to have killed my dog years earlier. That's when I knew this wasn't just about money. This was war. Key. Act 1, the first clash. My name's Logan Reed. I'm 40, a high school history teacher. And after 20-plus years of grading essays and dealing with kids who think TikTok is a primary source, all I wanted was peace. My grandmother's old lake cottage became that peace. Quiet mornings, a dock from the 1960s, water so still it looked like glass. Until the day Grace Perez showed up. Picture this. I just finished my daily swim, towel around my shoulders, still dripping water onto the dock, when I noticed a shadow moving closer. I turned, and there she was, Grace, the HOA president. Blonde bob haircut, designer tracksuit, clipboard clutched like a weapon. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Stop, you're contaminating the community watershed." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Excuse me. This is my property, my family's lake." Grace didn't flinch. She smiled a cold, fake smile and launched into some nonsense about environmental codes and unauthorized swimming. Then she handed me a citation, $1,000, for swimming in my own lake. I thought it was a prank, but her hands were trembling as she wrote it out. And that's when I noticed the pawn shop tag still hanging from her expensive purse. Something about it didn't add up. That night, I couldn't sleep. Curiosity got the better of me, so I started digging. That's when I found an article from 3 years back. 3 neighborhood dogs poisoned during an HOA environmental project. My stomach dropped. One of the dogs listed was Buddy, my dog. I'd spent $200 at the emergency vet back then, holding him as he died, thinking it was some freak accident. But no. Grace had been behind it. The anger that hit me was white hot. She hadn't just fined me. She'd murdered my best friend. I picked up the phone and called Louis Wilson, retired detective, my dad's old partner, and basically family. When I told him, his voice was tight. I never bought that accident story. "Logan, your dad would want justice." So, Act 2. Escalation and the turning point. The next morning, Grace was back. This time, she had props, a bogus water testing device and another fine, now $400 for noise pollution from swimming splashes. By the end of the week, I had racked up over $3,000 in fabricated violations. And I wasn't the only one. My neighbor Tom got fined $100 for parking his work truck in his own driveway. Maria got slapped with $800 for hanging a single holiday wreath. Frank, $950 for planting tomatoes. Grace wasn't running an HOA, she was running a shakedown operation. It wasn't just the money. It was psychological warfare. She'd show up at dawn, scribbling on her clipboard, smirking like she owned us all. And the worst part, people were starting to pay, some out of fear, some because they thought maybe Grace was right. That's when Emily Smith, the HOA treasurer, pulled me aside at a coffee shop. She was pale, nervous, her hands shaking. "Grace has stolen $38,000, she whispered. She showed me bank statements, forged invoices, proof that Grace created a fake company to funnel HOA funds to herself. Emily's voice cracked. She even stole money meant for the children's playground. Hearing that, it was like fuel to the fire. But that night, alone in my house, doubt crept in. I sat staring at the fines piling on my counter, the memory of Buddy's death in my chest like a knife. My job as a teacher barely covered my bills. Grace had power, connections, money flowing in from who knows where. And me, I was just one guy. I actually thought about giving up. Selling the cottage, walking away, letting her win. For a moment, I believed maybe I really was crazy. Maybe I'd misread everything. Then I thought about my grandmother's dock, about Buddy's wagging tail, about neighbors too scared to speak up. And I remembered what Luis said. Your dad would want justice. I couldn't back down. Not now. Luis came up with a plan. Desperate people make sloppy mistakes. Pretend you're broken. Offer to settle privately. She'll think she's won. That's when we nail her. So I called Grace, put every ounce of defeat into my voice, and said, I can't fight you anymore. Maybe we can work something out. Her excitement was instant. Finally, she purred. Come to my house tomorrow evening. We'll resolve this like civilized adults. Yeah, civilized. Right. Act 3. The Showdown. Grace's house looked perfect from the outside, fresh paint. Trimmed lawn, but taped in the kitchen window was a foreclosure notice. Inside, she had her dining table staged like a boardroom, papers everywhere. That same fake testing device on display. She started strong. Your lake is a community hazard. A 50-50 shared ownership agreement would benefit everyone. Translation: she wanted half my family's lake. I forced myself to play along, slumping in my chair, pretending to give up. Then I dropped Buddy's name. I keep thinking about my dog. You were involved in environmental issues then too, weren't you? For a split second, her mask slipped. Her voice hardened. That dog contaminated the water. I had to use extreme measures to protect the community. My blood boiled, but I kept my poker face. She kept talking, rambling, really, about how she'd used HOA funds creatively to pay for environmental projects, about how homeowners didn't understand responsibility. She admitted to everything: embezzlement, fraud, even Buddy's death, and she was too caught up in her own lies to notice the tiny wire Luis had clipped to my shirt. That's when the front door opened. Luis stepped in, badge out, handcuffs ready. Grace Perez, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, animal cruelty, and criminal harassment. Her face went from smug to feral in seconds. She screamed about conspiracies, about entrapment, about how we'd regret this. But Luis was calm, almost bored, as he read her rights. The next night, we had an emergency HOA meeting. I walked in with the recording. Emily walked in with the financial documents. When Grace's voice played over the speakers, I had to use extreme measures to protect community standards. The room erupted. Some neighbors gasped. Some shouted. A few still tried to defend her, claiming it was out of context. But then Emily laid out the missing $38,000, complete with bank withdrawals that matched her casino visits. You could see the tide turn, one by one. Even her supporters realized they'd been played. The vote to remove Grace passed by just 4 votes. 4. But it was enough. And the best part, Grace wasn't there to see it. She was already in a holding cell, screaming about conspiracies that no one cared about anymore. Closing. As the handcuffs clicked around Grace's wrists, something inside me finally settled. Buddy had justice. My neighbors had freedom. And Grace, she had nothing.